In this video, I will be going over the bolt carrier and a few other things in the MBAR design. So originally I had planned for this to be the final build video, but because the remaining parts and mechanisms of this rifle are probably the most complex, I figured it would be best to just split this video up into a few. So starting off, we got the bolt carriers. This is the assembled bolt carrier that will take any AR-15 bolts and a standard AR-15 cam pin. This is an unassembled bolt carrier that will take the DPMS pattern bolt and the DPMS cam pin, so like pretty much any AR-10. These two are pretty much dimensionally identical with the exception of the diameter of the bolt itself and the size of the cam pin. And then there's also the geometry at the bottom for the feed lips. And then one other thing on the AR-15 one was this little shelf was cut out because the AR-15 cam pin is just a little shorter. And you know, if this shelf isn't cut out, then it won't go all the way to the back and rotate into battery. So I'll be using this one to show you how to assemble the bolt carrier, and I will be using this one to demonstrate how it works since this is the assembled one. So starting off, many people asked, how did I get an AR-15 and DPMS pattern bolt to eject down? So the simple answer is, if you look at pretend this is an AR-15 bolt carrier for a moment. This ejects right, you got the cam pin on the top. So all I did was rotate the entire thing 90 degrees. So now the cam pin is on the right side of the bolt carrier, and the ejector and the extractor are oriented in a way where they eject down. Not directly down, but close enough to have it go down the bottom. The lugs need to be oriented in a way where they can still push the rounds out from a magazine. So, like this. The extractor is a little bit shorter, but I did test it and it does seem to work to push the rounds out when the top round is on the right side. So the reason why this works is if you take a bolt out and you're able to rotate it freely inside of the AR pattern barrel extension. There are 8 of these lugs, which means each one is 45 degrees apart. And it means that half of that, or 22.5 degree rotation, is what's needed to lock it in place. So I basically just did the exact same thing, moved it off to the side. All right, moving on. The rear of this is actually kind of like a Glock. So the reason why I did that is because if you look at a typical AR-15, let's just pretend that this is like an AR lower for a second. So your magazine's here. Typically the trigger would be in this spot right here, right? But here I'm using it for the ejection port. So, you know, the fire control mechanism cannot go here anymore. So I moved it off to the left side here. So, you know, the top is taken up by the recoil spring mechanism, and that's also where the charging handle goes. So this was really the only place to put it. Now, the way this works is this is the safety plunger. So, you know, this, like if you're familiar with the Glock, this is the sear that, you know, controls the striker. And once you depress this, then now this the spring inside of it will push the striker in, and you'll see the tip of the firing pin over there. The other thing is I've dual purposed this spring right here. Let me move the light so you can see it a bit better. I've dual purposed this spring to be used as a buffer spring. So, you know, this, when it hits the rear of the stock plate, this will collapse and slow it down. This isn't really strictly necessary because, you know, in a constant recoil system, I imagine it would probably be fairly slow and not really be going very fast by the time it gets back there. But just in case it's overgassed, I decided to add it. It doesn't really add a whole lot of mechanical complexity since we already had the spring there anyway. I'm not too sure if this spring is strong enough yet. So, you know, I'm working, once I get this thing all together, I'll probably test fire it. And then if not, I'll just increase the size of the spring or increase the length of this channel. Maybe used some tandem concentric springs. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. So this right here is the striker / firing pin. So on the front is basically the same as like your AR-10 or AR-15 firing pin. It just has like this little thing at the back of it. So it's kind of like a hybrid between a Glock and an AR. The one in here is a bit shorter than the one here. So, you know, the firing pins are different between the AR-10 and AR-15 pattern. This is the safety plunger. I'll show you in a moment how that goes in. So yeah, I think the next thing to do to show this thing being assembled is to just put the DPMS pattern bolt carrier together. All right, so the first thing to do is you take your bolt, find out which side the cam goes in, and then you just stick it in here, put this in here, and then take your safety plunger. I'm using the same safety plunger spring from the Glock here, same one I've been using throughout in the low receiver and all over the place. So this just goes straight in like this. And now it should, you know, force its way out naturally. Oops, this fell out. All right, now both of these parts are held in captive by the striker. 1 second. So I'm just gonna slide this one in on the back. All right, sorry I had to do a cut there since it was a little hard to get this thing assembled on camera while you were wearing gloves. So, you know, I got the striker in now, so it's holding both the cam pin and the safety plunger in there. So as you can see, when I push it in, now it can go up, and then, you know, when I push it out, now it stops here. This is really important for safety because this is held in, the striker on this is pre-cocked in order to have it have a light trigger pull. So the only other thing to do now is to put the striker spring in. So I'm gonna just put that in the back and take the rear plate, stick the buffer inside of it. And then I'm just gonna slide it on in to here, just like it's a Glock slide. All right, now that I've got it in, you can see that the buffer system works just like on the other one. So here is the fire control module. This is actually 3D printed. The sears are not, but the housing is. So the reason why I went with the striker module is because, you know, this is just a lot more compact. Since this is on the side of the rifle, right here, you know, I didn't want it to stick out like by an inch because of the length of a AR-15 trigger. Even if you just cut off the trigger portion of it and shaved off a bit and put it in its own housing, it's still gonna stick out quite a bit. So the way this works, keep in mind like what's in this section right here. This is just my implementation of it. You can make your own version however you want to get a lighter pull, or you know, maybe if you got an FFL and you want to make a select fire version, that's, you know, that's up to you. But it really needs to just take an input from the disconnector sear here. It needs to depress the safety plunger, and then of course grab and release the sear. So the way this works is this ramp right here is meant to depress the safety plunger when you push it forward. When I tested it earlier, there was a bit of like friction, so I think I need to you know, file it down a bit. This is the sear that grabs onto the striker. So when I push it, you can see it goes on in. And then this little rod here is what this pulls down when you cycle the bolt. So when I have this depressed and I press the disconnector, you see that it resets. And then when I pull this thing out, then the disconnector resets. And then this is all just held in by a roll pin right there. And then you just screw this into the side of the upper receiver. And just use a countersunk torque screw to secure it in. All right, so the next part of this that I'm gonna go over is the, like this little thing on the front. This is exactly the same on the both, so I'll just do it for one. So this is actually for the charging handle. So this right here is the latch for the forward assist. As I demonstrated in another video, like when it, there's a little sear like right over here that pushes this thing in, so the hook goes up. So basically, when you push this thing in, now it's pretty much stuck since it grabs onto this like little hook shape in the front. And then as soon as this gets pressed, now it's free to move again. Some people have asked about, you know, the inspection port feature on this rifle. So like this is actually made out of 4140 steel, so it should be fairly strong in case there's a catastrophic malfunction. This is also sort of cupped like this, so I imagine the gas, let's say you're shooting it suppressed, it'll probably go like more that way towards the back since it's lower pressure, rather than have to like then like fight its way around to get through the window. I think a little bit of gas may come out, but I don't imagine it'll be much. We'll see in testing. And then here I have the recoil spring guide rod. I've got a few springs, like this one, for example, that I'm sort of testing right now. The previous ones kind of deformed due to just me going past the max deformation limit. I'm hoping that this one will be able to maintain its shape after going fairly close to its solid height. That one is made out of music wire. The old one I was using was made out of 302 steel, which, or no, I think it was 304, which I think probably wasn't like the greatest choice, but basically it goes in just like this, and then a roll pin will seal it up. Some people have asked, like, why do I have like this little thing in the front of it? Why not just use like a washer or something? So the reason why is because this thing needs to collapse in on itself in order to make room for the inspection port window. So if I have a washer here, then this thing will stick out past that and it will block your access to the chamber. But by having this little extension here, the spring will collapse into it, and then only when the bolt carrier clears the inspection window does the recoil spring guide rod stick out. So this spring needs to collapse into a third, roughly about a third of its maximum extended length. So having the typical one where it just collapses into half its own length, where it just collapses in on itself, doesn't really work. Like a part of it is going to need to stick out at some point, right? So that's what the hole in the front of this is for. This is actually not for the piston rod, as some people have noticed. It is actually offset for a reason, because if the piston rod goes into this hole, then it's not going to push the bolt carrier back, right? So when you stick this thing in, just pretend there's a spring in there. Initially, you can feed quite a bit of it in, and then only when it gets to like sort of this point, then it will start sticking out. So let me just show you how this goes into the rifle itself. So I'm going to take the charging handle and push it in. All right, now you can see that the hole for the charging handles themselves lines up here. Normally, you'd never be able to pull it back to this point unless unless you remove the rear plate and the bolt carrier. So obviously I don't have either of those things in here now, so I can put this in. And the way that these two work is there's basically like a 25-degree angled shape here, and that fits into here, and you just need to rotate it back to get it in. So this is just two pieces, one for the hinge, one for the part that moves, and then there's a hole in here where you can kind of screw in the detents, or the ball plungers that I'm using for the detents, and I've Loctited it there. And then there's just like an M2 10mm roll pin in both of these. So this little nub here is what prevents this thing from rotating back when it's forward. So I'm just going to take this one and press it in, and then now it's in like that. See, so when I move it forward, I'm not able to rotate it anymore, and it's now stuck inside. And then on the other side, it's basically the same thing, but just in the opposite direction. So I just take this like that, push it down in, and then rotate. and now both sides of it are in there. All right, so since I have the AR-15 barrel assembly in here right now, let me move this around. I'm going to take the AR-15 bolt carrier and put it in. So just going to slide it in from the back. So now I've got it locked in thanks to the forward assist, and you can see very slowly when I pull this thing in. Oh wait, let me pull this thing out since I don't have the recoil spring in there right now. So when I push this thing in, you can see up close that the bolts rotates in. And since it's in battery now, this thing can move freely on its own. Forward assist. All right, so I think this is where I'm going to cut it off for this video. This one's already getting quite long, so please like and subscribe. Also, please follow me on Twitter or X. My link is on my YouTube profile and my Reddit profile. I would prefer it if you followed me there, since YouTube and Reddit sort of do a lot of censorship on what I'm allowed to share and post. So yeah, just please follow me there primarily. So yeah, I'll post the next one of these when I get the chance. I've had a bit of some delays, but I'm still working on it, so please be patient. Thanks.